Something exciting just happened. Google just dropped their Gemini 3.0 and the claims are big. With this blog as well, Google says this is the new era of intelligence and Gemini 3 is their most intelligent model yet, designed to help you bring any idea to life. You can actually go through this blog. This is really informative blog. You can actually see other data about their benchmarks. We will go over a couple of these benchmark comparisons and see for ourselves how good this is. Let's first go over the pricing a little bit. Pricing is actually pretty good in here. It costs around $2 and $12 for input and output respectively. If you stay under 200k token limit, and if you go a little bit over that token limit, you will get charged $4 and $18, which is not that bad. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some benchmark, because they absolutely blow other flagship models out of the water. Here, first of all, we have humanity's last exam. We have 7.5 with no tools and 45.8 with search and code execution. That is as compared to Gemini 2.5 Pro at 21.6%, which we know is the older model of Gemini 3.0. Here we have Cloud Sonnet 4.5, which is at 13.7%, and GPT 5.1 at 26.5%. When considering the next benchmark, Arc-AI 2, we have 31.1% for Gemini 3 Pro, and we have 4.9, 13.6, and 17.6 respectively for their competitors. And when we head on to the AI Meet 2025, we can see that it aced it with code execution, and it also got 95% with no tools. And the only benchmark they did not get number one is SWE Bench. And of course, as we know, the first place goes to Cloud Sonnet 4.5, but closely following Gemini 3 Pro, 76.2%. They also did incredibly well Vending Bench as well. Something to notice, Vending Bench is a benchmark in which the model controls a vending machine. It has to plan out how to make out the most money by stocking products, by making sure it has the right products for the right customers. And its net worth comes up to 5,478.16%, followed up by 573.64 cents, 3,838.74 cents, and 1,473.43 cents for their competitive models. Now let's continue on to the next benchmark. Google has also reduced Gemini 3 Deep Think. It is exactly what it sounds like. Basically, more token spent in the thinking phase, thus it performs better. So here's the humanity's last exam benchmark. This is a reasoning and knowledge-based benchmark, and it scores 41% versus 37.5% of Gemini 3 Pro. We have Cloud Sonnet 4.5 down at 13.7%, GPT 5 Pro at 30.7%, and GPT 5.1 at 26.5%. Really substantial improvement on this benchmark. Here's GPQA Diamond benchmark. This is a scientific knowledge benchmark coming in at number 1 with 93.8%. Number 2 is obviously Gemini 3 Pro, and the GPT 5 family of model coming in 3rd and 4th. Where it stands out the most is Arc-AI 2, which is a visual reasoning puzzle. It stands out from rest of its competitors with whopping 45.1%. And on the second phase is Gemini 3 Pro, which is at 11.1%. All the other more competitors are below 20% when it comes to this benchmark. So what does Arc-AI 2 benchmark actually do? It gives you an input and an output kind of a transformation puzzle, and it gives you another one, and you have to figure out what the transformation is. It is the best implementation of seeing if a model can actually learn, generalize from the learning. This is the most important thing for determining whether it is generalized intelligence, and Gemini 3 performs incredibly well. With the introduction of Gemini 3, Google also introduced some new API features as well. Let's go over the Gemini 3 developer site and see what it is. If you want to read this for yourself, just go into Google and type in Gemini 3 developer guide, and you can easily access this as well. Moving on, like we discussed last time, the current model right now of Gemini 3, it is Gemini 3 Pro with preview, and its knowledge cutoff is at around January 2025. All the updated information until January 2025 is available, and we also went into detail about the pricing as well. Now let's talk about the new API features in Gemini 3. First of all, Gemini 3 introduces a new parameter called thinking levels, which controls how deeply the model reasons before responding. There are 3 levels: low, medium, and high. You can choose according to your use case. So now you don't need to use high-level thinking for a small task. You can adjust this according to your will. And one thing to note down is Medium is not available at launch. So in the preview version of the Gemini 3 Pro, it is not available as of yet. And also they have given us a warning as well. You cannot use thinking level and all thinking budget together. Doing this both will return a 400 error. Moving on to the next one, which is media resolution. Gemini 3 now gives fine-grained control over how images, PDFs, and videos are processed in media resolution. Higher values improve detail extraction, but also increase the token usage and cost as well. The settings media resolution high, low, and medium respectively. You can set these per media part or globally as well. So they have recommended some settings as well. You can use them and try it out for yourself. The next feature we will be talking about is temperature. What is temperature? Temperature just controls how creative or predictable the model's outputs are. You put a low temperature, let's say around 0.0 to 0.5. It's very strict and very predictable. The model chooses the most likely answer every time. For Gemini 3, Google recommends keeping the temperature at 1.0. Lowering it below 1.0 can lead to issues like repetitive loops, degraded reasoning, worse math performance. So unlike all the models, the default temperature gives the best reliability. And moving on to thought signatures, Gemini 3 actually uses thought signatures to maintain the model's reasoning state across multiple API calls. These are actually encrypted markers representing the internal reasoning progress. If you don't return these signatures, the model loses some reasoning performance. So there are actually two types of these. One is functioning call. You must return the thought signature flat exactly as the model sends them. In this version, if signatures are missing, you is a 400 error. And this applies single function calls, parallel functions call, and even multi-step sequential calls as well. For parallel calls, only the first function call contains the signature, but you must send the entire list back in the same order. And next off is the text tag, which is like a soft validation method. So not strict game false, but if the model includes a signature and you ignore it, the reasoning quality drops. And if you are planning on migrating into Gemini 3 from Gemini 2.5 or any of the 2.0 family, they have you new proper instruction on how to do that as well. If you are using model from Gemini 2.0 family and you want to migrate to Gemini 3.0, I strongly advise you to go ahead and read this documentation in order to migrate properly. Now I am back at Google AI Studio to show you what people has built using Gemini 3.0. This Gemini 3.0 has been out for some time now, and it is completely free inside of Google AI Studio. The only time you actually pay is when you use it over the API, where you get charged based on input and output tokens per million, like we discussed earlier. But inside the AI Studio, it's wild what people are actually building right now. You can see that the interface is pretty similar to that of Lovable. You just give your idea in a prompt and it builds it for you. You can go to the gallery section and see what people have built so far. You can see a lot of beautiful landing pages, games, and even 3D models has been developed using Gemini 3. When you go inside of this application, you can see that not only Gemini 3 is better at generating very good looking UI designs, it's writing all the backend logic. Those ideas can even turn into games like Pixie here. There's Gemini Runner, Shader, Pilot. You can exploit 3D since people have shared their products with you. And see, it is really interactive. Not only does it look good, it's really built fantastically. These 3D models have been built really well for an AI model. And the controls are really smooth as well. And the attention to details that Gemini 3 has given is phenomenal. I'm sure over the next few days, we will see a lot more tutorials on how to build these kind of applications using Gemini 3 Pro. So to demonstrate the functionality, I went ahead and built a planetary system using Gemini 3.0 preview. And what I did was I first of all told Gemini to build a 3D planetary system, which is pretty interactive. And I hover over each planet, I am able to see it. And just like I asked, I am able to hover over each planet, except the sun, because I have not specified to include the star in it as well. So if I want, I can do that as well. But each planet is visible, and when I hover each planet, I can see what its name is. And I thought to test it out a bit more, I told Gemini to include major moons of each planet. And we'll go over to, so you can see that there is the moon, and the 3D model is amazing. And when you go over to other planets as well, you can see the moon systems of those as well. Gemini 3.0 is actually pretty good when it comes to these kind of tasks, and most of the time the benchmark usually gets staged, but this time around I think the benchmarks actually are true.